Listen, if you are going to spend a single dollar this year on SEO, whether you're a business owner or you're a marketing manager looking to allocate budgets, or even if you run a marketing or SEO agency and you don't know what to do in-house, what to outsource, and really how to get results for your clients in 2025, and you are going to watch a single video this year about SEO, let it be this video. I've been in this game for 9 years and I had loads of successes, I had loads of failures, and really everything that I've learned about SEO that is timeless and will continue to apply, that I see a lot of people not applying because they're too focused on shortcuts. They want immediate results like SEO is PPC, which is not, or they just want to cut corners because there's certain areas of SEO that are actually quite hard and they're not sexy, but they're fundamental to success with SEO, and people don't do those, and then they wonder why they spend so much money and so much time with SEO and they're not getting the results that they wanted or that they were promised by the service provider. So if you're going to spend a single dollar on SEO this year, please, I implore you to watch this video. I'm going to go through some timeless principles, the 5 pieces of SEO success that have always been true. And while 3 of them are the 3 pieces that everyone talks about, there's 2 other pieces that have been greatly ignored, and they just so happen to be way stronger in the current state of the SEO algorithms than that they were before. And it's also the ways that you are going to future-proof your brand when even more of the user base moves out of Google search into AI powered search. These 5 components will still pay off in AEO, answer engine optimization, not just for SEO. So while this is all timeless and also very timely because of what's happening right now in search, it's also designed to give you the fundamental knowledge to truly be equipped to make good decisions for your brand for the future. So I hope you find this video valuable. It is going to be a little bit long. There's truly no way of summarizing even further what I'm going to say on this video without making you a disservice. I want to cover the 80-20 of these 5 sections that are fundamental for SEO success, and not just that, but the fundamental for the experience that your clients and the people doing searches will have with your brand, which is one of the core ideas of SEO, is to truly integrate into the macro of marketing in the omni-channel, so that whatever happens in organic search will propel your brand in other channels. Let's dive right in. So the 5 pieces of SEO success, and I call this modern SEO because it truly is the state of the art of what is happening right now with the algorithms. If you're watching this in the future, hi from the past, but I'm confident you will still find this valuable then. So what does modern SEO truly look like? It looks like this funny picture here where there's some sort of like building. This of course is going to be your website. It's going to have some components and there's people in it. There's an eye. What does this all mean? Before I get into that, very quickly, so that you know, my name is Alejandro Meyerhans. I've been doing SEO for 9 years, since 2016. Out of the last 6 years, I've been focused on client work. I started with my own affiliate website portfolio that did really well. I currently run, and I've been running for the last 3 years, a multi-7-figure link building agency, in which over the last 3 years we built over 22,000 backlinks. Before that, I was doing forensic SEO work, so people will come at me with very large websites, large content websites. I was the portfolio manager and acquisitions vetting guy for a portfolio that ended up becoming a publicly traded company, not by me, by the founder, of course. And my job was to vet websites that primarily obtaining the traffic through SEO to make sure whether they were a good investment or not. So I got really good at looking at every single dimension of SEO. Now I've chosen to specialize in link building because it truly is the largest piece of this puzzle. And I'm saying all of this so that you'll be paying attention for the next 40 minutes to somebody that has put in the work and has the case studies and the experience to back every single thing that I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm the most experienced. I'm not saying I'm the best SEO that exists out there, but I'm saying that I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So what are these 5 pieces of modern SEO success and why do they matter so much? Let's start with the basics, the ones that I'm sure you'll already be familiar with. First, of course, we're going to have your technical foundation, and it is called a foundation. Everything else sits on top of this. Okay. I'm going to go straight into the actionable bits. What makes a foundation strong. A lot of people put into technical SEO just for the sake of making long listicles online, things that don't belong here, and they make it complicated. A good technical foundation, it's simply a website that's installed on a server that is really fast, that has no errors. You have there on the screen, the time to first byte needs to be under 200 milliseconds. You can check that on Search Console. I'll show you some captures later how it works. If you're using WordPress as your content management system, you 100% want to have the cleanest, lightest theme you can get your hands on. In my experience, that's GeneratePress. For context, for those first 3 years of my career and the way that my agency work started, it started by doing WordPress speed optimization. I did hundreds of those, and this is what I found out, that every single time we made a site faster, they made more ad money, the user metrics got better, and rankings generally improved, or they didn't get completely obliterated when the next update came along. And this is 6 years ago, 5 years ago. In the current state of the algorithm, this is imperative because it's one of the core things about cost of retrieval. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to be very clear on this point. Good server, no errors, clean theme. WP Rocket helps. As little plugins as you possibly can. Then you need a very comprehensive robots.txt file that tells robots what they can and cannot do. That's not just Google, but every single robot you can imagine. I'll show you a couple of files in an example of what good and bad stuff looks like. You want to have very clear crawlability. What's the paths that robots can and cannot take through your menus, the breadcrumbs. If 2 pages target the same thing, this is for users, this is for search engines, put a canonical in place. If this page is dead, now it lives here, put a 301 in place, make sure that you don't have no 404s. All these different things are going to impact how well can crawlers, aka the robots, interact with your website. Of course, make sure that the SSL certificate loads, basic stuff, sometimes it's missed. And you want to have very clear and clean sitemaps only with the contents that you want indexed. Your site could have 1,000 pages of content, out of which 200 are good, valuable pieces of content that answer queries that deserve to be indexed. And you could have another 800 that are for other stuff. Don't index any of those. Don't even show them to the search engines. You don't want them wasted their crawl budget there. So in the subject of speed that I covered earlier that I was so intense about, is because it's extremely freaking important. This is a brand that we take care of that got a hit. But right there, you can see a very clear drop in impressions when we migrated to Craft, and then from Craft, we moved back into WordPress. And then when we moved back into WordPress, I made the site very fast. You can see there in February when there's the recovery on the chart in GSC, the site was loading in less than 200 milliseconds on average. And this is already with some ugly peaks right when we made the move. And it was then clocking at just under 50 milliseconds. And immediately this day and night, what happened there? That has happened in my career hundreds of times. I just show you one of the latest examples. So in the other subject of comprehensive robots.txt, the file above is the typical robots.txt that most SEO plugins will output with very little input for robots. The second file is a file that is extremely comprehensive. The actual file is 20 times the length that I'm showing on the screen. And you can see there that it has directives for Googlebot, for Claudebot, for Applebot, for Perplexity. It has a lot of folders that they tell in all these bots, hey, don't even go here, right? And then it has all the sitemaps for the specific sections of the website listed at the top. It has, and you can see there that they have a very clean directive for robots, what they can and cannot do. And you might think, hey, Alex, my site is 40 pages. Yes, your site might be 40 pages, but robots might be finding 200 pages, which is 5 times the volume of pages that they should be finding. That covers the absolute bare bone basics of technical foundation. Everything sits on top of this. That's the 80-20. If you get it right, you should be doing fine. Next, we're going to have your content. And this is whatever pages you put up on the website that you are letting crawlers and search engines and bots and LLMs read. That qualifies as a piece of content. If they shouldn't be reading it, you block it on the robots.txt, right? You put a no index tag on the page. And content is fundamentally 3 things. It's how you build the empire one pillar at a time. So as you see there in the image, the content sits on top, and it's split there in pillars because every pillar of content is a core subject that you'll be covering. If I have an SEO agency, I talk about technical SEO, I talk about content, I talk about a few other things, right? Each one of these sections of the website, let's say it's a website about pets, I have a section about dogs, about cats, bearded dragons, maybe you racing ducks in your backyard. Every single one of these animals will be a pillar of content, and within that you're going to have branches in the way that they split. So let's look into the details. Entities, structures, and architecture really go from micro to macro, right? So from the micro, an entity within a page, you need to understand that search engines, that robots, do not understand language the way we do. When you hear the word Apple, you can paint multiple pictures in your mind and a lot of associations already just by the word Apple. For a large language model or a search engine or any other one of these bots, when they read the word Apple, they just get letter by letter, they get the full word, they tokenize it, and they put it on vectors. And vector is just to say, where does this piece of information land on a very big map of language, as in coordinates? And Apple could mean a lot of different things. Is it Apple, the technology company? Is it Apple, the fruit? Is it Apple, the nickname that some Thai people get? We don't know. Robots need the other words in the document to disambiguate what the page is about. If I see the word Apple and I see the word stock, most likely I'm talking about technology. But what if it then says chicken stock? I might be talking about stew. I need chicken stock and apple. So yeah, maybe I'm stewing something. But if I say the word Apple, stock, and then index, and then shares, I'm most likely talking about the company. And I'm talking about the company in the financial sense. I'm not talking about the company in the product sense. That would be if I'm talking about iPhone and camera and megapixels and Wi-Fi. All these ideas will live within a very large map, and is what allows all these artificial intelligences, large language models, to understand what the hell is your page about. And so if you want to rank for, let's say, apple pie recipe, that doesn't mean anything to search engines. They see apple, they see pie, and they see recipe. Those three things mean something on a map, and they kind of live close together. But in order for your document to be the best document about apple pie recipe, they need to see a lot of other things there that they've already have identified because they've read previous documents on the subject. The first person to talk about apple pie recipes. They need to see all these other ideas in the page in the right places at the right volume of repetitions to ascertain that your document is, matter of fact, the best document about apple pie recipes at the page level. Then we enter into the structure. What's your headings? Do you have the right amount of headings for the structure of the document? Do they have the right format, the right flow, H1 into H2s, H3s under, H4s under, etc.? And do those headings themselves have the right entities, aka words, and the semantic meaning of those words at the heading level, so that when the crawler is scanning the page, they can translate it into the language in a way where they can ascertain, yeah, this document is a good document about this idea and it's not just mambo jumbo. The next thing that truly helps search engines and robots is going to be your schema. So the schema is simply a way of encoding text that has structure in a way that is already prepared for search engines. It's like giving you a meal, and I'm giving you a meal in a box where the tonkatsu is here, the rice is here, the sauce is here, and I'm giving you a fork and a spoon. Now you have everything. Or I can give you everything muddled together and say, go eat with your hand. You might be equipped to do so, you may not be equipped to do so. That might not be the experience that you want. Search engines like their experience all very clean and compartmentalized, so it's very easy for them to scan through the info, and it becomes cheap. You have to bear in mind that all these different search engines and LLMs, all these bots, it costs them money to retrieve that document, all that infrastructure, all that technology, all those deployments on your website. The crawler visiting your website costs them money. So if it costs them very little money and they get high value in return because your content is very valuable, is structured well, and is fast, you're going to get a higher score. And then we start building that idea of the score. There's multiple ways that the score works. We'll enter into that a little bit later. Another thing, of course, is going to be the navigation at the page level. Not only the structure, but it's easy to move through that. And then that document is going to live within a much larger site with loads of other documents. And then we enter into architecture. Architecture starts at the URL level. So imagine that if you have a site about pets, it will be, mywonderfulpets.com/dogs/training. So I'm in the dogs pillar. Then within the dogs pillar, I'm in the training section. And then we have /reactive dogs. So now this document that you have about training for reactive dogs is very clearly nested on all the other doggy content in all the other training content, and is far apart from the how to train your dragon content, because they're different species. And that's what we have there on these content pillars. The deeper you go into the content pillar, let's say of dogs, and you cover not just the how to train a reactive dog, but all the 50 other ways of training, methodologies, famous people, training stuff, training materials. Then you also go then into nutrition, you go and you cover everything that is to be said about dogs, which will take you thousands of pages. Then you have full coverage of the what's called topical map. So basically it's all the ideas within a broader idea. And if you have good structure of that content, because you separate it well and it's easy to navigate, and you represent that at the navigation, so you create a tree-like structure with the dogs is here, then you have training, food, this, that, and then within that you have more things there. Then you have a good clean tree-like structure for your content that's like a good skeleton, and then each document appends to the skeleton in the right place. Then of course you have internal links from page A to page B when it's required and necessary, and it helps the user experience so people can navigate and jump from one side of the skeleton to the other without having to go back to the main thread. Fine. The last bit of our architecture, and if you refer back to the original image, you will see here content has a certain width and it has certain height. The wider you go in the ideas of content, so imagine the more animals you add to your website, without having a strong technical foundation, the quicker you're going to run out of foundation. You might have too much stuff on your server is very poor, it's a cheapy one that cannot take so much info. Maybe now starts responding too slow. Maybe you didn't build a good navigation on the menu. Maybe you didn't put the right URL structure in place. Maybe you didn't disallow certain things in place. And for every 20 pages that you add of content, maybe 300 pages are being added to the index. So the more content you add, the bigger the bloat, the sooner you're going to drop dead, because Google is spending too much money crawling pages on your site that they don't want to visit. So these things are quite important to really nail them down and know what you're doing. It's much better to choose a handful of pillars and then go very deep, which is basically going to make your site very tall, very visible. There's that roof at the top that we're going to go next into, instead of just going too wide. If my entire site talks about technical SEO and I start publishing articles about digital PR, and I publish one article about digital PR, that's going to get me nowhere. Not only that, I'm so far apart from my original subject of technical SEO that as Google picks up these two pieces here, they're going to devalue this content here because I'm no longer contained within the bounds of my original subject of expertise. So now that we covered the absolute fundamentals of content, let's jump into the next one, which is the 80-20 of the 80-20. Links have always been and will always be the single most powerful factor for rankings. The entirety of the idea of Google was built on the idea of PageRank, which is evaluating how good of a document is based on the number of references that it gets. Is the same as it is for academic papers. And basically a backlink can give you three things. Sometimes it's one of three, sometimes it's all three. For as long as it gives you some of this and it doesn't give you any negative signals, should be fine. What is trust? Trust fundamentally means that the site that is linking to you is trusted. Therefore, by association, which is what a citation does, a link does, you will get also some trust. Trust you get by basically being closer to the seed. So a seed site is fundamentally any of these entities that already existed pre-internet, that had a very large footprint, and it was trusted by pretty much everyone besides those people that believe that the earth is flat, as a trustable source of information. And then they happened to have websites built later on. So all those sites, let's say they're green checked as legit. You can have a site that is very close to those, and of course we're talking about like the big media sites, right? .edu, governmental sites, educational sites. The closer that your site lives to those, the better. And by close, I mean how many links away. So if I get a link from the MIT to my website and then I link to you, you'll be pretty close to see it, but I am closer, so I'm going to have a lot of boost, right? The other thing that you can use as a demonstration of trust for a website is how much traffic do they themselves get from organic search. If Google is sending to a website consistently 1 million visitors every single month, you can be pretty sure that Google has a large degree of trust on the website because it's giving them their users. The other thing is also how good is the EAT of that source website that will link to you. Expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. Basically, is it run by a real world organization? Can you trace back the founders and the people running it? Do they have offices? Are they legit? Do they have a good brand sentiment? All these different things We'll enter into that a little bit later as well, in the specific things that you can do to boost your own EAT and enter into the 5th dimension. And the way that you get trust signals in a backlink is when a site links to you and the text on the link, which is called the anchor text, has your brand name. And if you run a personal brand or you're a prominent founder figure of the brand, if it links to you to your website with your name, that's also fine. The other thing that a backlink can give you is authority. And by authority, the good old-fashioned term is PageRank. Some people believe PageRank doesn't exist anymore. They unfortunately misled. It does very much exist. It's just there's many other PageRanks right now. And it's basically how much power does the website have. And that comes from the link graph of that website. So what backlinks does that website get? How strong are those backlinks? And then when I get a backlink from that site to me, how strong is that backlink going to be from an authority point of view? Some third-party metrics that are quite useful to use in this case are domain rating by Ahrefs or domain score by SEMrush. I don't like Mozz's domain authority at all. It's been proven to be the easiest one to manipulate. You can put it through the roof for $10. It doesn't really matter so much. DR can also be manipulated, but DR, when it's manipulated, it leaves a very clear footprint that you can see in 2 seconds on the graph. So in that way, it's still trustable. It's not actually Google's own metric. You need to take that into account, but it's a good estimate of relative strength, because the point of power is that it's all relative against other websites. Some of the sources of authority that you can get on the anchor text, besides branded links, which are always good in that sense, is when the anchor text says something like source, or according to XYZ brand, or according to XYZ person. What's also important is the surrounding text, which let's enter into Relevance to look into that. Relevance can be fundamentally at 2 levels. This is the 2 that matter. You can have either topical relevance or geographical relevance. What does this mean? If I have that pet website that we were talking about, and then I have another website that talks about animals linked to me. So let's say that I get a link from a pet store in my city that links to my article about dog training for reactive dogs, and it says if you get a reactive dog from the shelter, they are a great trainer to learn from. That would be good at a geographical level, because that store is based in the same place that I am based. Although if I don't want to rank locally and I want to rank nationwide or anywhere where the language of my website is used, it doesn't matter at all, but it will be a very relevant page and domain to get a link from. You could have a link from a news outlet from anywhere in the country, even from a different country, so you won't have the geographical relevance. You won't even have the domain level relevance, because they're just a news outlet, but the page could be perfectly on point with what you do, and that's still fine. You can have neither of them, but be a very strong website with lots of authority and still be a perfectly fine link. The ideal link has all 3 of them. Pursuing the ideal link at all links that you do is the best way to never get any backlinks. And it's much better to just get links that have any of these 3 at a good level, maybe 2 out of 3 of them, and that are just generally a good website. This is not the video where I teach you what a good website looks like. I will make a video. Our in-house QA document is 30 plus pages of captures and training with hours of video training. So I'll make a more condensed version of that so I can teach you how to spot a good website from a bad website. From here, we can move on into 2 fundamental types of links that you can get. When most people think about link building, they think about getting links that are contextual links, right? It's the good stuff. But you cannot also just skip over the foundational stuff. You're gonna need some citations, some profiles, your social media fortress, right? And a good experiment that was run is if you manage to get 1,000 citations, so that's basically a website naming your business, the address, phone, website, and the name of it. If you get 1,000 of those indexed on things like Yellow Pages or whatever it is, right? Google will automatically build a Google business profile if you don't have one. If you do local SEO, you 1,000% need this. If you don't do local SEO, they're way less important, but they're beneficial as well. That alone will not rank you. You want the good stuff. The good stuff is fundamentally 2 main things that you can do. You either get links where journalists and news outlets are involved or not. By not, I mean guest posts and link insertions. Within guest posts and link insertions, there is a ridiculously wide range of quality out there. Let's assume that you're doing it the right way and you're basically connecting in a meaningful way with somebody else who owns and runs a website that's legit, and you get to send them a piece of content that they like and they publish it. Congratulations, that's a guest post, you get a backlink, God bless you, rank better, right? You can also improve an existing piece of content that they have. That's called a link insertion, when you put a link there. And the other two ways that you can then involve journalists into the mix will sometimes get you higher DR links, but typically only to your homepage. So if you need links to your inner pages, guest posts or link inserts are still the way to go. Just do them right. If you want a lot of homepage links, then digital PR, where you basically craft a very good piece and you pitch it to a bunch of people. Or the other way of digital PR, which is approaching journalists on their requests for information. Haro used to be the go-to one, is sadly defunct. Now you have Feature and Quoted and a few other ones where you can go and submit answers to journalists' queries. I wanted to make a point about this because everything that I said, if you already know all of this stuff about links, that's fantastic. And then you're pretty much up to speed. This is an article that I wrote for the Warrior Forum a sweet 7 years ago. What makes a good backlink in 2018, as you see there. And I said a good backlink will be do follow a contextual link in a high authority relevant website. That website will have loads of referring domains. Remember the link graph and authority part. Ideally will have your brand name or a keyword rich anchor depending on the ideal distribution that you need, and it will be a real brand with real traffic that links to you. That I wrote 7 years ago. This is an audit from literally days ago that we did for a client that wants to rank for website development in some city, where we look at all the backlinks that they have, all the backlinks that the top competitors have, and we compare them against each other, and we look for the same. We look for do follow contextual links. We weigh them by relevance. We only look at real links from real websites. We look at the anchor text distribution, and as you can see there on the distribution, branded links are winning across the board in 2025, and it shows that most websites that do rank tend to have links from higher DR ranges, and loads of them. So there you go. Now that we covered the absolute fundamentals of backlinks, this is really, I will make a different video with a full link building masterclass that will be anything between half an hour and 1 hour, where I will enter into a crazy amount of detail about link building, everything that I learned over the last 3 years running a 7-figure link building agency. In this video, I just wanted to give you the TLDR so that we can move on to the next bit, which is going to be your user signals. User signals have always been something that is known to impact rankings. People were talking about like, yeah, lower your bounce rate, make sure that people share your website. That's really good. And they would buy social shares and fake those numbers for social proof, missing the point that there is actually a full-blown algorithm called nav boost. You can see there, I'll translate that query click log data. Basically, it looks at what people do on your website. Do they click on stuff? Do they use the stuff that is being clicked on? Do they read the content? And do they finish the query? As in, they make a query, they visit your website, they obtain a satisfactory answer that solves their problem, and they close the website and they move on with their life. If that happens within 20, 30, 40 seconds, even in 2 minutes, that's fine. Fantastic. That's it. You won. You answer the query. Now, this has been known in the SEO testing community for a very, very long time, and it was news for some people. When the Google algorithm got leaked in June of last year, I already made a video covering all of that. If you get the slides for this, which will be on my website, alexmeyerhans.com, you can just click on that or just go to my channel, Alex Meyerhans SEO, and search for the video, the Google algorithm leak. It will have a lot more details. That slide that I have there is from Google against the Department of Justice of the US, where they had to reveal all these different algorithms that you have there. So there's at least 6 algorithms that use the data of your interactions to retrain the output of the algorithm, aka how high should they put a page. At least 6 of them. So what should we be doing to truly satisfy those algorithms that are going to measure our performance based on the interactions of the users? A few things that are quite straightforward. One, you try to get a higher CTR on search. You write better titles and better meta descriptions. Meta descriptions don't matter so much. Google will choose them 80% of the time, but you want to write one at least for your main query. Titles are the most important part. You want to get users to stick to the page. That means a fast response, quick load of the entire site, so that's the rendering, the CLS, and very engaging content that from the get-go will make users like what they see on the website. What I said earlier, you want users to come and do what they came to do and then get out and close the session, never to go back to search. If they go back to search, it means that their query was not fully satisfied. They didn't find the answer that they were looking for on your website. Therefore, you need to go back to search and read somebody else. That will demote you in search, no matter how many links you have, no matter how good you think your content is from an algorithm point of view. If the user signals say otherwise, you won't stay up for very long. Ideally, of course, if it's an informational query, you want users to land on the page, love the content, and go and read 50 other pages in the same session, and then bookmark your site because you're such an amazing resource. And then the best scenario, of course, is then when they go and they share any of the pages that they visited on your site with somebody else. Now, you need to always remember that people don't share how-tos, people don't share a lot of those queries that they make for their own needs, but people do share articles that make them feel something. So if you write a piece of news or an opinion, like a letter, those will get a lot of shares. And if that letter has potential to rank for something because it targets a keyword, it will do really good. Other things that do get shared and bookmarked, specifically bookmarked, are any resource that people want to come back time and time again, like a percentage calculator that I use every day. So now that we cover the absolute basics of user signals, let's get into what's right now one of the most overpowered signals into the entire ecosystem, and that is brand signals. Brand signals were one of the key differentiators of brands that did well on the helpful content update, on the March update last year, that did well on the multiple updates during 2024. And it's going to be a conditio sine qua non for absolutely everyone that wants to have a good performance, not only on Google search, but on LLM, GPT searches, all those kind of ones. Brand searches and brand signals is where the game is at right now. Few things that you can do to improve your brand presence, and what are these brand signals that will look like. I'm just put you some examples here on the screen of our own brand, the amount of branded queries that we get, some impressions here in a 30-day span. So you can see Google wants to see this. If they send you 1 million visitors per month because you're really good at writing content that will rank, but nobody looks for your brand because you're not a real brand, you're just a content play, you will get hit. That's what happened to absolutely most of the websites that got hit on the March update during last year. So a few things that you can do to increase the volume of branded queries and the brand footprint on the web. Besides, of course, publishing as much content as you can in every channel that you can run ads that show your name, and you can do videos where you put your little polo with the company name, and maybe some of the 40 viewers that will watch this masterclass will bother to look for get me links, and that will benefit us for SEO. You can run job ads because applicants will check you out to see if you're a legitimate employer or a place where they want to work at all. Very important, of course, you can run Google ads on the display network, but specifically if you run Google ads on search, it's been demonstrated, it's been tested ad nauseam that any brand that puts money on Google ads does better on organic search. And some people might look at it from a conspiranoid point of view, like, oh, Google boosts brands that spend money. Well, the reality is Google boosts brands that spend money because only real brands will do it. Brands that just want to get value out of search and not add value to users, they just try to publish as much content as they can to get free SEO traffic. They will never spend money on some keywords because they don't have a strong backend, because all the monetization is affiliate or whatever, right? So that's a very important one. If you are okay being on video, which I'm slowly becoming okay myself, then you can build a personal brand. Of course, you can do it by text, Substack, LinkedIn. There's many ways that you can do it without video, but video is the best because it builds relationship. Go ahead and build a personal brand. It will increase the number of searches that you get. It will increase the brand recall as well of the brand. So you can appear as a guest on blogs, on podcasts, on YouTube channels, don't matter. And of course, if you can afford it and you can sponsor certain conferences or events, people that attend those will be looking for your brand to see who you are as they approach the booth or as they go after. So there's a few different ways that you can increase the amount of brand volume that you generate. Within that, building links with your brand anchor, which is what I put there, get branded backlinks, is the single strongest of them all because it hits multiple things. It gets you more backlinks, which we saw is a very strong thing to do. Links that live on sites with good traffic will get visited, so referral traffic will include itself into the user's signals as a very positive source of signals. It's traffic that comes from sources other than Google, helps Google very quickly evaluate the quality of the document based on the interaction of those users to see if Google should send you their users to your page based on how the 1,000 visitors that you send from your, let's say, email list did in your content. So strong branded backlinks are extremely powerful. I'm just giving you an example there of a branded link that we got from entrepreneur.com in a piece that we did about the cost of digital PR. We got loads of those kind of backlinks. Doing so will also future-proof your brand. I know a lot of you have concerns about losing traffic from search engines and out of the users now moving their behavior into things like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or any other LLM-based search engine. And even within Google is now offering very big knowledge panels, AI overviews. A lot of queries are resulting in zero-click searches. How do you appear on these LLMs? And 80% of the job of appearing in LLMs is serving your content in a way that is very easy for the LLMs to understand. And that's why I cover on the content part, getting loads of other websites to talk about you, having your brand present in loads of other websites, in podcasts, in guest blogs, in roundups of the best companies to do XYZ in whatever it is that you live. And if you see this example here of design software, it's the same query, design software or best design software, in 3 different platforms, in Google itself, in ChatGPT, and in Perplexity. And as you can see, there's a bit of a consensus, because a consensus is safe for LLMs. They cannot give you rogue responses the way that you used to get some rogue websites crack into the rankings in the before years, just by being very good at the tactics. Now we're talking here high level understanding of the fundamentals, so you can craft strategies, and that's what I'm all about. So you see there on the knowledge panel, you see Canva, Adobe, you see them also in the ChatGPT response, Adobe, Canva. In the Perplexity search, you will also see Adobe, and if you keep scrolling, it would say Canva next. But what's important, I wanted to show you this, is on the Perplexity query, you see the best 13 graphic resources. You have HubSpot, Cyberlink, and PCMag. Those are other websites that don't themselves rank on this list of the best software, but they're quoted as the source. And so Perplexity will be referring traffic to those people, because some users will click on those to read the article, and Google is doing the same on the AI overviews. So increasingly more, all these LLMs will have to quote the original sources. A lot of traffic will go through that way, so you may not rank directly. You might have to go through that intermediate layer of being first picked up by the LLM in that way, either as a source or as one of the brands that they mentioned. There's 2 different ways that you can position yourself there as AEO, that everyone is losing their minds about now, and that's how you do it. That's how you rank on the LLMs. Another good thing that you can do, increase the positive sentiment of your brand online. That's another good way. So there's 2 ways to do it. Of course, reviews, and I'm just showing you one example, something that we put a lot of focus during last year to actually reach out to clients. I start asking for reviews, positive, negative, or otherwise, but talk about us. So of course more users will know us, but also for the LLMs. We know that the LLMs scrape all these review platforms. They also scrape all the forums. So what users are saying about you on the web matters a lot. This should give you the TLDR high level overview of the full picture. With a strong technical foundation, you build your content on top, you power it up with good backlinks that make your site tall and sharp and narrow, so you can penetrate up to that elusive idea of brand. So with good content and good backlinks, you start building that brand at the website level. Then you get seen at the website level from search or from anywhere else. The users will interact with your website. They will say things about your site online, and they will create that brand recall when you've done a good job at satisfying their needs. That's the full picture summary on really how to win with SEO. And also, hopefully, my true hope with this video is that you won't drive yourself insane by falling prey into some hype man tactics. Do this one thing and you will multiply your traffic 17x in 25 seconds, because none of that works. This is what SEO truly means, and this is how you do SEO and AEO moving forward. I want to show you one simple case study of 2 different sites that one had all the components and the other one didn't have any of the components, and it's very straightforward. So the first site at the top was an SEO play, purely send a bunch of links of okay quality, publish a bunch of content of very decent quality, but in a very wide subject. We were targeting a bunch of different things. Imagine it's Mediterranean cuisine. We went through every single country and started just publishing content. Pretty good at structuring content, so the content was doing pretty good. Bunch of backlinks, doing really well, growing really, really well, up until the March update, where Google is like, hey, you have a very low DR because you don't have a lot of backlinks, which means you don't have a lot of trust, you don't have a lot of authority, you don't have a lot of relevance. You're too wide in nature for how many pages you have and for how little backlink support you have. 57 referring domains are not a lot, and it looks like most of this content is being created for the purpose of just ranking on search engines. It does help the users, but they can get it in half the time in a Pinterest image with a couple of bullet points on how to get the recipe. I'm gonna whack you out. Also, one of the most important things is that site did not have any branded searches. It was a very young site that we were pushing aggressively through content, did not have the time to establish itself as a brand. The other side below is a different brand. It's the same brand that I showed you that had the speed issue. where it has a much higher DR, it has fewer pages in a much more highly specialized subject, and it only talks about that subject, has a ton more backlinks, quality backlinks with much higher DR, and it has a lot of branded searches. Although people are looking for that brand because it has a good social media footprint, it's been active for many years. So understandably, as soon as we fix the technical foundation, that was one of the cases, we publish a bit more content and we continue to gather backlinks, the performance has just been going up like crazy. So hopefully in this video, I've been able to offer you valuable overview of the state of affairs with SEO, what works. If this video helped you, I'm elated and I'm very thankful for your time watching it. If there's anything else that you would have liked me to cover, please let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy this content, you can go to alexmeyerhans.com and download yourself a copy of the slides. Have fun ranking. Thank you very much and God bless. Cheers. Dada.